I'm hearing whispers that should shake every person in the Carolina to their core. Because what we're seeing right now in Charlotte isn't just a rebuilding phase, it's a full-scale survival mission for Bryce Young. Look, I've been covering this league for a long time, and I've seen quarterbacks left out to dry, but the data coming across my desk right now regarding this offense is nothing short of alarming for anyone who cares about the future of this franchise. We need to talk about why this front office is playing a dangerous game with their biggest asset. Before we dive into the heart of this explosive report, I want to invite you into our inner circle, because we are on a mission to hit 3,000 subscribers, and we want the most informed, most passionate fans in the league to be part of this tribe as we track the resurrection of this franchise together. When you look at what Bryce Young has endured since the moment he put on that blue jersey, it's honestly hard to watch without feeling a sense of deep frustration for a kid who was billed as a generational processor. His rookie season was a nightmare, an absolute clinic in how to fail a young quarterback, with an offensive line that was utterly dreadful and a group of weapons that felt more like a retirement home than an NFL receiving corps. Think about it, he was asked to save a franchise while throwing to Adam Thielen and Hayden Hurst, with Miles Sanders trying to find holes that simply didn't exist behind a line that was collapsing in seconds. The struggle was real, the grit was there, but the support was non-existent, and it makes you wonder how any rookie could survive that kind of psychological and physical beating without losing their spark entirely. We are talking about the legacy of a number 1 overall pick being balanced on the edge of a knife, and while things have marginally improved, the fundamental problem hasn't been solved. The question we have to ask ourselves as we look at this management team is simple. Are they actually building a nest for him to fly, or are they just putting up new wallpaper in a house that's still missing its foundation? You see the effort, you see the moves in the offseason to shore up that protection. But as we peel back the layers of this roster, a terrifying truth starts to emerge about the guys catching the football. Is it enough to just be better than the worst? Or should we be demanding a standard of excellence that actually gives our guy a fighting chance against the heavyweights of the NFC? I want you to really think about the pressure sitting on those young shoulders, because the weight of an entire city is there, and right now, the help he's getting feels like a drop of water in a desert that seems to never end for us. But wait, it gets even crazier when you look at the raw data that's leaking out about how this offense functioned last year and what it means for the upcoming campaign. There is a narrative out there that Bryce simply isn't accurate enough, but when you talk to the insiders and look at the charting, you find a completely different reality that the national media refuses to acknowledge. Here is the raw truth. Bryce Young's accuracy is actually quite good, and in fact he completed 79% of his attempts when he was actually targeting an open receiver, which ranked 16th out of 45 qualified quarterbacks. He isn't missing the targets he can see, he is hitting them with surgical precision. But the problem is that those targets are almost never there when the heat is on. Out of nearly 500 total attempts, he only had 72 plays where he was under pressure and actually had an open receiver to throw to, which is a staggering statistic that places him in a basement with names like Shedeur Sanders and Justin Fields. They don't want you to know how often he's being asked to fit the ball into windows that are practically invisible, because the guys on the perimeter simply cannot create separation. It's an emotional pivot from excitement to genuine concern when you realize that even with the award-winning season from Teteroa McMillan, the windows remained tight and the pressure remained constant. You start to feel the suffocating nature of this scheme when you realize that Young is essentially playing a game of chess while his opponents are playing a game of tackle, and he's doing it without his queen on the board. Imagine being a young quarterback who does everything right, who identifies the blitz, who steps up in the pocket, only to find that every single one of his teammates is draped in coverage like a blanket in midwinter. This isn't just a systemic failure of roster construction that threatens to derail a career before it even reaches its peak. We have to be honest with ourselves about the reality of this situation, because if we don't demand better, we are just watching a slow-motion car crash and calling it progress today. Now we look at the second story, the competition, the threats, and the potential redemption arc that everyone in the building is praying for as we move into this next phase. The front office finally addressed the protection, bringing in Rasheed Walker and Monroe Freeling at left tackle, while sliding Luke Fortner and Sam Hecht into that center spot to solidify the interior. But here is where the narrative hits a wall, because you can give Bryce all the time in the world, you can give him 5 or 6 seconds in the pocket, but if nobody is open, that time is just a slow countdown to a sack or a throwaway. This is the climax of our dilemma, because while McMillan and Jalen Coker are talented players who have shown flashes of brilliance, they aren't traditional separators who create massive cushions for their quarterback. They are grinders, they are contested catch specialists, and they thrive in the dirty work, but they don't find themselves wide open very often at all, and you probably saw that while watching the games with your heart in your throat. This is why the decision to pass on explosive threats like Mekhi Lemon or Eli Stowers could end up being a disaster that haunts this team for years to come. I'm being raw with you here. I'm being the insider you trust. And I'm telling you that the lack of a true vertical threat who can blow the top off a defense is a glaring hole that everyone in the league is whispering about. What happens if this plan goes right? Maybe the sheer volume of targets and the improved protection allows Bryce to master the tight window throws and become a modern-day Drew Brees. But what if it's a disaster? What if the frustration boils over because he's doing his part and the room isn't responding? You have to wonder if the leap we are expecting from Xavier Legette or Chris Brazzell is based on actual evidence or just desperate hope from a fan base that has suffered enough. This is a high-stakes gamble with the franchise's soul. And the margins for error have completely vanished in a division that is getting faster and more aggressive every single Sunday of the year. Unbelievable. Seriously. I'm almost losing my mind here thinking about how close we are to greatness if we just had one more piece of the puzzle to make this thing click. It feels like we are right on the edge of a breakthrough. But there is this nagging fear that we are repeating the mistakes of the past by not giving our quarterback a clear out when things get muddy. I've heard a theory from people close to the team that the staff believes the improved line will naturally lead to better separation because the receivers will have more time to finish their routes. But that feels like a dangerous assumption in today's NFL. You need guys who can win at the line of scrimmage instantly. Guys who can make a defensive back miss in the first 5 yards. And right now, this roster is built on size and strength rather than twitch and suddenness. It's a fast-paced analysis when you look at the schedule and see the cornerbacks we have to face. But then you take a slow, heavy emotional reflection and realize we are putting so much on Bryce's plate. Is it fair to ask a second-year player to be perfect in his anticipation every single snap just because his receivers can't get clean? That is the insider vibe I'm getting from the league. A sense that Carolina is building a very specific, very heavy type of offense that might be too slow for the modern game. We are watching a transformation, but is it a transformation into a contender, or just a more expensive version of the same struggle we saw last year? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but for a fan base that has been through the ringer, the middle isn't good enough anymore. We want fireworks, we want explosive plays, and most importantly, we want to see our quarterback smile, because he finally has an easy completion to a guy standing 10 yards away from the nearest defender tonight. When we tie all of this together, we see a powerful vision of the future that is both terrifying and exhilarating. Because the success of the Carolina Panthers now rests solely on the evolution of Bryce Young under fire. This is the grand finale of the offseason narrative, the moment where the talk ends and the reality of the gridiron takes over. And we are going to find out very quickly if this gamble pays off. I believe in the kid, I believe in his heart and his mind, but I am demanding the soul of the fans in the comments right now, because we need to send a message that we see what's happening. Is this our year where Bryce proves everyone wrong and carries this group to the playoffs? Or are we being let down once again by a front office that failed to see the flashing red lights? I want to see your fire below. I want the raw honesty that only this community can provide. Because we are the ones who show up every Sunday and feel every hit he takes. We are building something special here, a tribe of fans who don't just watch the game, but understand the chess match being played behind the scenes. And your voice is the most important part of that journey. Don't let the national media tell you that Bryce is the problem when the data clearly shows he is fighting an uphill battle with one hand tied behind his back. We are going to be here every step of the way, breaking down the film, checking the sources, and giving you the truth that you won't find anywhere else. This is about more than just football. It's about the pride of the Carolinas and the future of a franchise that deserves to be at the top of the mountain once again. Stay locked in, stay passionate, and never let them tell you that your loyalty doesn't matter, because you are the heartbeat of this team forever. Panthers Nation.